I awakened from the slumber of an undisclosed time period, and I'm back, ready to mine those diamonds, finally. It's been sort of a bit of a difficult day, to be completely honest. Just had to do work. And, I was kind of realized I didn't really want to talk about it that much. So we kind of had a luck. Very unfortunate, but oh well. Got a grand total of 3 diamonds. That's to be expected without fortune. Very un, very, very, unfortunate. No. No way. I actually found more diamonds. I was gonna be silent for a bit longer. But I knew that joke was complete, um, was a complete, viral word, but here we are. Dang. Dang, 8 diamonds. That's what I'm talking about, man. That's the big comeback. I didn't bring any torches, so I think I'm gonna head back to the surface real quick. And I do have a couple upcoming ideas, a couple upcoming video concepts for the channel, and they sort of do align with what I got going on right now. And one of them, first off, one of the things I've been really into, one of the things I really wanted to do, I want to synthesize some freaking chemicals, man. That would be so, that would just be so awesome. So, but the thing is, I don't have any a lot of equipment, so I'm probably gonna just go on this cool little program that I found online, where you could basically just build your own molecule and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's nothing like making them in real life, but I mean, I really just don't have that kind of space where I'm living right now, so it's been unfortunate. I just realized we gotta make a wood run. Unfortunate. Ooh, but we can craft Dynamax. That's pretty hype. There we go. Amazing, wonderful. No more iron axes. Get out of here. We just chop wood like a boss. Man. I mean, really, I gotta say, the house is growing on me pretty well. Uh, I'm gonna be honest, in all the years like I've built bases and stuff, this is definitely getting to be one of my favorite. Which is saying a lot because I've been playing this for like 10 years. I mean, admittedly, 10 years is like, I played a couple years at the beginning, and I'm really just stretching my legs over the big 5-year gaps that I took in the middle, and then my great big return, which is marked with like the most brilliant parades and festivities and ceremonies. But I mean to say, it was a pretty unceremonious return. I had a couple of cool things. Actually, cool is a really big. Cool is a really big overstatement for what I did when I returned to Minecraft. Doing the Minecraft stuff on YouTube has always been sort of like a goal for me. Of course, the big inspiration is like Technoblade. In fact, the 20 million subscriber video is the reason why I'm uploading videos now in the first place. Because I'm like, well, if he can do that, like beyond the grave, then clearly I can, like take up this thing that's called out for me, or called out to me, for like the past, geez, what has it been, like 10 years? First, when I was younger, when I was 13, there's a big concern, like I don't know what I'm talking about, and I really shouldn't, be some sort of influencer at that point. But nowadays it's really just like, man, I'm old enough. I'm like 32 years old. I can do what I want. And I know that sounds a bit sad, but and to be honest, I'm not really sad about it. And even if I had done, great things in that time, I understand this is a bit of a downer, but it's kind of like over. It's not like over to do great things, but that time period in which I could have done good things or, bad things is like over. And as such, I don't really, stress about it. It's really one of those things where I had to check if I was recording first. I I'd have kind of been a bit miserable if I wasn't. Yeah, I mean, time in the past, I mean, people have been talking about it for ages, man. I just now realized it sounds a lot more clever than it had any right to be. But I mean, like, they talk about spilled milk. That's what spilled milk is, man. Don't cry over spilled milk. Don't gloat over, I don't know, if you turn it into cheese. Don't gloat over your cheesy triumphs of the past. Just got to keep marching forward, man. Hey, not too fast, not too fast, surely. This is not a race to the end here. Honestly, well, I don't know. I can't really tell. It's a race to the end. But it's, trying to put the brakes on as much as possible before you freaking kick the bucket, bite the dust. All those wonderful phrases. I mean, it used to be, like all this indecision would, make me nervous. All these, sorts of things that I could do. And I thought, you know, would be, like, so make or break. Like, even if you do, mess up every single decision in your life, you're still gonna end up, like, at the end of it one day. So I guess it's kind of like a consolation prize. But the thing is, it's like, I mean, it could seem like you made all the wrong decisions in your life because, you you can have a tendency to like tunnel vision, only focus on like the bad that's happened. The good things probably have happened to you. You just gotta get used to, getting out of that mindset of, oh man, I remember all the bad things that happened to me. Remember the good things. Or if you remember like when all the good things were happening, like, oh man, I'm really nostalgic for like this time and I wish I could go back to it. You could also, help, ease those feelings of, desperate longing by just, remembering all the times where you were like, I don't know, sitting in the waiting room for the doctor or something. I don't know, maybe I'm showing my age here. Maybe you got like a digital check-in for the doctor's office. So you just walk in and they call your name like DoorDash and you just get to skip the line. I mean, that's what they do for appointments. Yeah, I don't know why I'm trying to play the senior citizen, out of the loop card. I'm not bad at it. Not yet, but I mean, that's for the future. That's for the future. I don't really want to explore that space right now. Like I'm aware of it. I just don't want to be, doing that right now. Especially when that's just how it's gonna be later on. Yeah, I was talking about video ideas earlier. You can notice my conversational style. I just get off on a tangent and I just freaking rip one tangent after another. Very, very fun for me. I'd imagine, as you know, if you were a listener, it's pretty agonizing unless you're also just like really into that sort of, like I'm almost tempted to call it like this ADHD style of storytelling. Oh, if you can even call it a story. It's more like detail regurgitation. So it's not too too well crafted of an experience, but it's like the experience I can give, gosh darn it. So, but I'll try to cycle back. So, in terms of video ideas, thinking about making the illegal or impossible molecules in molecule view. Also, let's see. I have it written down on a sheet of paper here. But yeah, I do have a couple of other games that I kind of want to branch out to. But to be honest, I think I'm gonna say that in the future, and if I do that, it's gonna be like a separate channel. The two games I have is gonna be kind of bit out of pocket. But now that I think about it, the first one would probably be Catch-All for all the other games that I like. And that's like, I'd imagine it's probably just all the games in my Steam library. Uh, so it'd be like a separate sort of gaming channel. Then what's this channel? I don't even know what this channel is. I don't think I should plan that far ahead. I think such planning would not only be just laborious and complex, but it would also just be it would really just be kind of useless because nothing that far in the future is even certain, much less guaranteed. So make counting your eggs before they hatch. That's the easy way of saying that. I'm not gonna, be like, oh, okay, then I'll, divert half my audience to this channel via, SEO manipulation or something like that. I don't even have an audience. I'm literally just talking to myself, hoping that one day, people, do see this and are like, oh, okay, this is cool. This guy does have an audience. Like now, not now, but like now in the future, I would hope. This is really, really therapeutic. I love the chopping of trees. I'm gonna get back to the video topics. Then I'm gonna. Well, I don't need to say what I'm gonna do after. I just need to get back. Okay, so video topics. There's the molecules, and then I don't know. Oh, the other thing I like to do. The other thing I like to do is I like to 3D print. But I'm gonna be honest. My relationship with 3D printing is long since been estranged ever since the advent of the bamboo printers and ever since I was like well versed in the realm of manufacturing stuff just because it's like cheap plastic crap, sorry, cheap plastic basically stuff you don't want, like I'm gonna take a bit of a strong stance here, but 3D printed, articulated dragons, the things that, people make for 3D printing, that could easily be, lived without, basically like toys. Uh, I don't like that stuff, man. And I understand a lot of people do, and I mean that's the thing. I think, I got into it early, which is nice because I was like a bit ahead of the curve. Actually, I don't even think I was ahead of the curve. I think I was just catching up to like, like amateur level. And as soon as I got to, the point where I can actually like print stuff and I can print consistently what I want, uh, I was like, oh, okay, well, I want to see what other people are doing. And then you just look at, I mean, sure, there are some useful tools. There's some like actually genuinely useful like applications and use cases for like, oh, I want to print this part, but the only person that manufactures this part is, this company and it's selling it for like $100. So instead of having to buy it from them and, wait for shipping, I could just, print it myself, save a bunch of money. And that's the useful use case for 3D printing. If you do 3D printing for that case, congratulations. That's awesome. That's wonderful. If you do 3D printing for like, like creating art, that's also fine. If you do 3D printing for printing like toys that you find online or basically like printing out like other people's art so that you can have it for yourself, that's where I'm a bit, on the fence about liking it. Of course, like if you're enjoying it within your own, sphere, I'm not gonna go out and like, go on a crusade, try to, stop people from having fun, like quit having fun. Like I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna go on a big tirade just to, I mean, at that point, I'd just be throwing a tantrum to throw a tantrum. It wouldn't really make any change in the world. But I do have a bit of a reservation against, just like, oh, I want to create art or I want to make this toy, and to do so, you know, I'm gonna fuel the consumer cycle of buying plastic and throwing plastic away. That's something that really gets to me. Creating and disposing of plastic waste. I know PLA is industrially compostable. That's not enough. That's not. That's not enough. You hear that, little Reddit man? That's not enough. That's not enough. That's Kendrick Lamar, a minor. He absolutely loves anything that you know follows the mainstream, follows public opinion. That's I mean like that's his jam. He absolutely loves it. He's got both hands up. He's celebrating. He's very excited. Put your hands down, man. Put your freaking hands down before I chop your head off, bro. But I'm big against the plastic waste. So my secret plan, or I suppose it's not very secret, because it's kind of what they did with PLA, but PLA doesn't really get there. My secret plan is, instead of just using uh you know what is it, the saccharides to produce polylactic acid, which is what they got in the the which is what they got in PLA, polylactic acid, PLA. There you go. Uh, I'm thinking, why don't you just, put a bunch of like cornstarch in there and just extrude that. And you add some additives, but it would all be biodegradable. And it doesn't even have to be filament. It could be like one of those paste extruder printers. And then you're able to basically create like plastic prototypes, plastic parts for like, and this wouldn't be, an engineering use case per se. Although I suppose if you needed a really weak part that, would degrade over time, Like if you're fine with that, then you could use it for that. This is more so for like, making toys, right? Making statues that don't need to have this, insane level of, like structure, right? You could just print them out of cornstarch, and then it's like, oh, I have this statue, and it looks like what I want it to look like, except it's made of cornstarch. And you could add like food dyes in it to color different things. And you could have colored biodegradable 3D prints. That's essentially what I'm looking into. Do I have any idea of how to do it? Uh, it's really the answer is mostly no. The answer is mostly no. But I've kind of been sitting on the idea long enough. I've done like some research into it. I've done, but I mean, if I'm gonna be completely honest, I haven't written anything down. So, and they say there's between science and messing around, is writing it down. So I suppose in the end, I really was just messing around with the stuff. I wasn't doing any scientific stuff at the end of the day, which is kind of sad. But I mean, I do remember the results of the stuff in my head, and I do have a few pictures. So very poorly scientific, but still scientific nonetheless. Kind of. Don't quote me on that. Actually, do quote me on that. I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling pretty confident. They call me Google because I'm feeling pretty lucky. Right on. I'm excited to be back in mines. Excited to keep mining. On the topic of plastic waste, I understand I may be poking the beehive a bit, but it just kind of makes me sad when I see uh, what is it like the Happy Meal toys for the Minecraft movie. And what it is, it's just that plastic. And again, it's that plastic. I mean, I understand, like, what else are they gonna make it of? Aluminum? They're gonna make it out of infinitely recyclable aluminum. You're looking at like $100 toys there. That's that's silly. That's ridiculous. I don't know. They could have made them out of like cardboard. Wait, yeah, they could have made them like cardboard foldables. Or like they could have printed it into the Happy Meals. Like, oh yeah, you get to fold your Happy Meal up into like the toy. And they could have had the perforations and stuff so you could rip it out and fold mine so you could fold it. Man, I'm kinda ticked that I came up with such a good idea because now I know that's never gonna be like a reality. God, it's like I'm a genius and yet my knowledge was repressed and no, it's not that smart. I wish it was, but I mean it's like really they probably thought about it that they're like, well, it's cheaper to make it out of plastic. It probably was cheaper to make it out of plastic. Plastic is so cheap. That's probably why everyone uses it. And when it's done, it's like, oh, just throw it away. And it gets me to a certain degree. I dream of a day where plastic is no longer a non-biodegradable thing. Let's pivot here. I've been thinking about finally biting the bullet, and after holding out for so long, I think I may finally create a TikTok account for posting videos and such. And although I do want to create long form videos as much as possible, I know I think I really gotta get with the times, man. And I do think I'm capable of, a couple funny clips every once in a while, so I would basically go over there and post a couple of clips of me being funny. Really explained itself within the first part, and I just repeated. But I feel like that's kind of what you do with every speech. You say what you're gonna say in like a super simple, super easy to understand form, and then you really go into the weeds of it, and then you make everything more complicated. And then in the end, you just say what you said at the beginning, and it's like, what are we doing here? But you see, that's more so the pattern of, like what I would consider, like a bad speech. A bad speech is like, okay, you really could have just given it to me as like an elevator pitch with your introduction. You didn't have to go through all of that remaining. Like in the middle of the speech, you really just said what you said at the beginning, except, you know, just stretched it out with a few more filler words, filler content. Like I didn't really learn anything. And in the end, it just told me what I liked at the beginning, except you put it in a different way. So maybe it's not even as interesting. Sure, maybe it's a little more organized, maybe it's a little more summarized, easier to digest. But I mean, at the beginning, you had that, you know, that interesting statistic, that hook now, or something. So that's why in the middle of your speech, you always got to put specific and relevant examples to what you're talking about. So that way it's like, well, I can't put this in the introduction because it's like, I mean, it's so specific, like, it's almost as if I have to have a separate part of my speech dedicated to covering it, aka the body. So that's what you do. And, it's got to be relevant. So you just get into something specific as like not related at all to what you're talking about, people are gonna go to sleep. People are absolutely like going to go to sleep. I'm not having a very good time right now. I was honestly I don't even know why that gets me anymore. I've seen like horrible things. I've seen terrible things. But and not just like in a fantastical context, but happening to, fellow human beings, which I am of the same species. Like I've seen horrible, like desecration, like brutal annihilation, I've heard stories of, like horrible, like, and they got it everywhere, like popular media, books. Popular media is, well, I suppose books aren't too popular, especially nowadays, Then a YouTube video ain't biting. But yeah, they just got like all these, instances of, horrible things befalling people. And it's just like, what are we doing? I think I'm gonna risk it. I think I'm gonna get an enchant on this in hopes that is something good. F1 on 1. I'll certainly take that. That's a very good enchant. I've been really into bug spotting lately. One of my favorite bugs so far that I've discovered is the soldier beetle. Imagine a beetle with a big shield on its back. That's a soldier beetle. And imagine something that looks like it can bite you, but it can't. That is also the soldier beetle. in this one, I gotta say it's pretty cool. It's got like a black abdomen, sort of shield body, and then basically that the head is like imagine if you saw a fire ant, but it was like enlarged. That's what it would be. And the best part is it like doesn't actually bite you. It's super chill. When I found it, it was like on a pillar, and it was just like it was just chilling there, and I was moving in it. My favorite part, just like when the bugs, like they move their antenna around, like they're, just sensing their surroundings, exploring. I think it's pretty cute. I think it's pretty swagged out, personally. And I also found a couple of others. Of course, you got the classic ladybug. Everyone knows the classic ladybug. The classic ladybug is beetle, in case you didn't know that. Then also along the lines of beetles, I also found a checkered beetle, which at first I thought it was a box elder bug. Just in case you don't know, box elder bug, it's like basically like imagine a stink bug, but it's like flattened. So like it's pretty much like a really flat bug, like a little bit of a bulge to it in the back, and it's like black and red. That's what a box elder bug is, and they're also benign. Although they can get inside your house sometimes, but that's just because they're finding shelter. It's not because they're gonna like spread disease or bite you or anything or leech off your life forces. They don't do that. They're chill. And then let's see. Well, I suppose one dangerous animal that I did run into was something. I think it was the same species as something called a velvet ant. And essentially, what a velvet ant is imagine an ant that can uh, sting you, and it's not an ant, it's actually a wasp. That's what a velvet ant is. So this one isn't necessarily velvet, it's actually yellow, so. And I know that does seem like a bit weird, like, oh, it's called a velvet ant, but it's yellow? Then wouldn't it look like a wasp? The thing is it doesn't, it's fuzzy, which is the weirdest part. It's like this yellow fuzzy thing. It kind of looks like a bumblebee, honestly, when you first lay eyes on it. But eventually you're like, okay, well, I don't know what this is. And I think like the ID bugs, I really just make a bunch of desperate Google searches. I think the first one was like a fuzzy bee, and I just looked through, and it's like, oh, we got the bumblebee. Yeah, this ain't a bumblebee. This is nice. Second patch of diamonds. Let's make it splash. I'm gonna make it splash. Man. I'm splash, man. I'm gonna make it splash, man. I think we made it splash. Have a nice 5. Yeah. But yeah, I just make a bunch of desperate Google searches, trying, hope that, one day eventually, I roll the dice for the Google search. Not that I'm feeling lucky, but I hate to loop back around, but eventually, I whittle it down and I find my bug. Then I just label the picture in my phone, and it makes me feel like I'm doing something with my life. It's pretty cool. And then let's see, any other cool bugs? Well, there is one bug I did want to talk about. That isn't. Well, I suppose I discovered it a while ago. I'm talking a few years back now, but essentially, my favorite beetle by far that I've seen is, well, that I haven't seen would probably be a scarab, a golden scarab, because those are just awesome. But of the beetles that I have seen, the coolest would be uh, the emerald fig beetle. I'm not sure that's exactly what it's called, but I know it's a fig beetle, and I know it's emeralds. The reason why they're my favorite, it's not just because they look shiny, it's because they are probably, oh, jeez, they are probably the single most clumsy, like, bug on the planet Earth. Where we have them back, where we have them back where back where I used to live, back at home. Uh, Basically, like you'd just be sitting outside, right? You'd just be sitting outside by some trees, enjoying the summer sun, enjoying the weather, or perhaps you're walking, you're going on a stroll. It's a beautiful stroll, and then all of a sudden this freaking like this rock hurls at you from like freaking out of nowhere, from out of the sky, man. It's raining rocks, except it's just one rock. And you just get out of the window dodging in time, and you're like, what the heck was that? You notice a buzzing sound, and the rock makes, like a 90-degree turn in like 6 feet or something, and you're like, oh shoot, that was a bug. And eventually you see it a few more times, and you realize, it's a beetle. It's a huge beetle, flies around like a menace. Except it's not actually doing that because it's like hunting you. It just does that because it really, really sucks at flying. It is horrible at flying. Absolutely horrible. And yet, I mean, once you realize, that a bug is non-threatening, it really just bumps its coolness factor up. Or, I suppose it wouldn't be coolness factor, it would be chillness factor. Like any bug that doesn't like bite me or infest, my food, or I don't know, my crops. I don't know why I was gonna say my crops, my foodstuffs, my my human body, doesn't, inject me with parasitic eggs and, turn me into a zombie. That's a bug that I'm chill with. Freaking gravel jump scare, awesome. Love to see it. Yes, we're taking on the role of gravel clearing squad, unfortunately, but it's worth it. It's just, yeah, that's why I like the fig beetle. It's just dope. I have a bit of a crippling coffee addiction. Oh, I suppose at this point, it would be less, crippling and more like, essential to, my operations. So, an essential coffee addiction. But, any time in which, the fiend is taken out of the factor of my life, it is difficult to maintain even basic operations, talking to people really becomes something a bit less of, something I would do, as a formality, and it becomes more of this thing that I must avoid at all costs unless I want to be seen as a bumbling, slurring speech, sort of uh, really just this dysfunctional, like mountain of flesh. Which I understand to a lot of you, sounds really bad and you feel really bad for me. Please do not. It is, it's fine. I can quit anytime I want. It's 100% avoidable as long as I have my caffeine and I do not experience withdrawal. And honestly, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. 100%. I do like decaf. I do like decaf sometimes. Sometimes they just completely flop the batch and you end up with something that tastes like you're drinking I don't know, isopropyl alcohol. That's always fun. That was sarcastic. It's not fun. It's actually just horrible. You don't want to do that. But most of the time it's pretty good. Most of the time it's pretty good. And it's nice. because, you know, you can never drink too much decaf, hypothetically. In reality, there's actually a lot of different ways they can decaf stuff. Sometimes, you know, they put something on the side of the package that's like, oh, we removed 99.9% of the caffeine. It's like, wow, technology is truly, it is truly done justice to the coffee bean. And then other times it's like, you know, like, oh, this doesn't have a label on the side of it. What does that mean? It's like, okay, I'm not scared of that at all. Come up with a better one, and then maybe we'll talk. These key sounds aren't getting to me anymore. I think I'm improving. But some decaf, as I have read online from various unverifiable sources, say that as much as 50% of the caffeine that was originally in the coffee is left in some decaf products. Meaning that isn't 1/1000th of a cup of coffee. That's just 1/2 of a cup of coffee. So if you drink twice as much of it with, you know, and you think you're drinking decaf, you probably drink a lot more, you know. Especially, if you have regular coffee first and you're like, oh, you know what, I think we'll mellow out with, a pot of decaf. I can get you. I can really get you. Let this be a word of warning. I'm pretty sure no one even cares. No one's even going to reach this and be like, oh, yes, what a wonderful word of warning. No one's been watching my videos yet. I've been watching them as, like, quality control. No one's been watching my stuff at all. But it's whatever. It's honestly whatever. I know that this is all just part of the struggle, man. This is all just part of the struggle, all part of the grind. But the next diamond vein is probably when I'm going to call it. Right here we got the redstone. It's like diamond, except it's red instead of blue, and it's not as useful. I know this is a very slow way to progress, but I mean, personally, I like it. Personally, I like it. I think it's very therapeutic. You may have fallen in love with the rhythm. Maybe you know, an uh, audio sensory, what does the M stand for in asthma? I don't know if mucho. It may be an audio sensory, mucho romantic. You may really be into that stuff, but even if you are, that's pretty cool. Actually, no, I'm not gonna give you that. Like, I understand people, they have certain. Well, I mean, there's music. Music is like ASMR. It's like, I'm not gonna get out of my little expertise. ASMR, do whatever. I suppose there's a bit of a final word because I know the final diamond's coming up. I've been trying to come up with the proper balance between YouTube and other platforms of advertising and, potentially even, I don't know. I really hate calling it content creation because it's like, I'm creating stuff to make people content. It's kind of like, to me, content is honestly synonymous with slop. Like, you can just churn it out, churn it out, churn it out. And I suppose that is kind of what I'm doing to an extent. I'd like to believe otherwise, though. I would like to believe otherwise. Even if it is a silly belief, I'd like to believe that, this is something. I'm at least trying my hand at it. Well, what the proper balance is between, YouTube, which is what I want to do, and other platforms, which, in all honesty, are probably really useful for driving traffic to my YouTube channel. I'm not entirely sure. But my basic idea of what I want to do is I want to focus mainly on the videos here, which is proving very difficult because, you imagine, like logging into your favorite social media, whatever, it just kind of sucks you in. It's very difficult to escape once you're in there. That's really how I feel when, I log into the stuff for business. And you're like, okay, I gotta reply to a trending tweet, I gotta do some, and all of a sudden, you're caught up in the algorithm, you're caught up in the doom scrolling. And thankfully now, I can sort of be like, because that's happened to me before, I can sort of pull myself out of that, like, whoa, this is what you want other people to be doing to your content. And I know that sounds absolutely devious and absolutely evil, but hold on. Like, my videos are not for, like watching, as, because I mean, look at me. You might not know. I'm doing vein mining in Minecraft. I'd imagine you've probably seen this a million times before. I like to believe what I bring to the table is, with my speech, with my words, right? Perhaps I have little ways of moving the character around, but I like to believe, that what I have to say, it may not be the most entertaining at times, but I like to believe that it's something. Seem to have hit the lava wall. I don't know where I want to go from here. I think I'm going to make a hard right. As opposed to a soft right. If I didn't go just straight back into the lava pool. I don't know. I'd even distinguish at that point. But I'd like to believe that in talking to the camera, that I do bring something interesting to the table. As much as that may or may not be true. I do gotta be careful here. This might... Oh, here's the diamonds. So coveted. And that's sort of like the belief that, I'm sort of banking this whole channel on. Because I wanted to do this for so long, I don't really want to throw in the towel just yet. Because, before I had seen that, what was it, technically 20 million subscriber video, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna throw it. Like, I'm done. I'm done with doing YouTube. I just want to focus on, like, my career and stuff. And to some extent, I did do that for a while. And I gotta say, I am in a pretty good spot. But now that I am, it's like, well, I got not all the time in the world, but I want to come back to this. I want to really, I understand, it's not just going to be like you upload one video and it's going to be, big hit. You got to really put in that time, that dedication. You got to, but you also do have to stay true to yourself to some extent. It's going to be difficult, but I'm hoping to do that. And once again, I've lost my train of thought, except I haven't. I was talking about the correct balance that I want to have between other platforms and YouTube. I'm going to stick mainly to YouTube. That's my answer. Final answer, lock it in. Because, I mean, that's just the most alluring, the most appealing. The thing I want to express the most is, creating videos and such. Like, I feel like that's my main form of expression. Sure, it's nice to create a tweet every once in a while, but I mean, it can get pretty old. So, I've always been interested in the video creation aspect of things. As much as I believe, it has gotten slop-fed. And to make money off of it, like, that's everyone's dream. Like, oh, I'm gonna become a millionaire doing something just YouTube. And you hear other people that are just saying, like, don't do that. Don't try to become, like an influencer just off YouTube, because it's like, it's pretty much brainless, right? Like, well, on some avenues, sure, like, it's brainless because it's just like, you just mimic the trends, and as long as, you yourself, are appealing in enough ways, and you get pushed to the top by the right people, and You know, you got the right friends, you got the right, sort of audience just off the bat, you get lucky with a few things. Or you put in the work to, like, basically just ride the waves, follow the trends as much as possible. And if you are really big into the numbers, that can be, like a source of, like mental stimulation, and as such, like some sort of an, deep-seated enjoyment versus, just like the whole, oh, I'm making money because you're just making money, doing what you view as, useless work. It's like, well, what am I doing? This may not be the case for anyone, but even, if you are getting paid, if you view what you're doing as like meaningless and useless, then, I mean, you're probably gonna feel the need to branch out to something else. And, you know, that doesn't necessarily have to be, so you had to kill that fish there. Doesn't necessarily have to be like outside of YouTube. It could just be like different style of YouTube content, but I'm just trying to cover that base by just doing what I want to do. Doing nothing too fancy, too many bells and whistles, blah blah, yada yada. Even though I am gonna have to, pull a few extra strings to get this to go anywhere. But that's the way it is. I'll leave it with Donkey Kong. Actually, hold up. Let's check out the moon, guys. Wherever you are in life, uh, I mean, that's alright. You're there, and I mean, yeah, that's the moon. I'm thinking next time. I'm thinking next time. We may want to fill out the interior of that map, but then also round out the exploring. But one last thing, I want to get this compass going. And I'm gonna race it. I'm gonna do it like a speed run. I'm gonna race it. Gonna do it like so fast. It's gonna blow you. It's gonna blow your minds. Here we go. See ya.